You're still watching the City of Lagos TV show. Welcome to the Commissioners platform where we promote, project and celebrate the giant strides of the commissioners managing each ministry under the Themes Plus agenda of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu-led government. Now, considering the cosmopolitan nature of Lagos, the ever-growing huge population, coupled with its multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and multi-diversity, one major policy thrust of this government is to alleviate poverty and empower women, as well as to bring succor to families in Lagos through a multi-dimensional approach. This great responsibility falls under the ambit of the Lagos State Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, under the able leadership of Mrs. Cecilia Bolaji Dada. Honorable Commissioner, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
First, Honorable Commissioner, which of the pillars of the Themes Plus agenda of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu does your ministry fall on? And to what extent does your ministry live up to its mandate, vision and mission statement in line with the agenda?
For the Themes Plus agenda, my ministry falls on the two pillars. That's the education and technology, and making Lagos a 21st century economy. We have 19 skills acquisition centers where vocational training goes on, and that is why we fall under education and technology. And we do a lot of empowerment programs, economic empowerment program for women and youths, and that's how we fall under the making Lagos a 21st century economy. And then the plus is social inclusion, and that is what my ministry stands for: gender equality and youth empowerment. For us as a ministry, our vision is to be the lead ministry in sustainable poverty eradication and women protection in Lagos State. Our mission is women development and eradication of gender-based violence in Nigeria.
So what are the very significant achievements of the ministry, especially in the area of women empowerment and giant strides in the drive to alleviate poverty in Lagos State?
Our first responsibility is to eradicate poverty to the barest minimum in Lagos State, and also to protect the welfare of women in Lagos. We have a lot of empowerment programs that we've done in the past, like the Micro Enterprise Support Initiative, where we empower women, artisans, youths on economic empowerment. We give them enabling equipment. Just recently, Mr. Governor graciously approved that 70% of our beneficiaries should be graduates from our 19 Skills Acquisition Center. Recently, we had graduation of about 5,512 graduates from our 19 centers. And last year, we had about 4,619 graduates. So far, we have empowered 23,000 people from our 19 Skills Acquisition Centers. Skills Acquisition Centers are long-term trainings. We also have our short-term trainings that we take from local government to local government. It's different categories of people, from people living with disability to people living with HIV and sickle cell anemia, to faith-based organizations, to wives of military officials and then police, to communities, riverine areas, different groups of people, wives of Lagos State officials, retiring civil servants that are about to retire, so that when they leave the service, they have something to fall back on. We also have fish training for women, fisheries, where about 500 women went through such trainings, and we empowered them to start their own businesses. It might interest you to know that they have actually formed a cooperative now, because they're already making money through this fishery business. They smoke and they sell fresh. They have a cooperative already. And also we have our training on our Avia farm in Badagry, where we don't just train them, we give them demonstration plots for them to demonstrate what they've learned and cultivate whatever they have for them to be able to start their own farming business. Also, we have a program for not just farmers, but also entrepreneurship training for them to be able to run their businesses. It's one thing to learn a skill, it's another to be able to run a business. So we teach them on various skills, soft skills at the short term and the normal skills at the long term. And after such trainings, we give them entrepreneurship training. And also, we encourage them to export their products.
The tremendous support and empowerment initiatives by the ministry is actually commendable, but of key importance is effective monitoring and evaluation of your efforts to actually determine your progress. So, Honorable Commissioner, what monitoring and feedback mechanism has the ministry put in place to get the expected feedback?
Thank you very much. We have a department that is saddled with that responsibility, the PRS Department, Research and Statistics. Before we do empowerment, we do evaluation, where we evaluate the beneficiaries, because we take some of our beneficiaries from the social register of the state government. We re-evaluate to be sure that they are still in that status where they are meant to be when they were captured in the register. And after we give them the empowerment, we give them like 3 months, and then we go back to see the impact that such empowerment has made to them. Sometimes we tell them, sometimes we don't tell them. We just badge in on them with our cameras and everything, so that we will have a first-hand information on what they're doing, if indeed the empowerment has impacted on their lives positively. And the feedback has been tremendous. But sometimes you give some people some empowerment equipment and they just dump it. So because they know that the government will come to check, they make sure that they do the right thing with whatever equipment or training they have learned. The good thing about a short-term training is that even before the end of this training, they're already making money. They're already, using the skills that they have been taught to make, to empower themselves.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner, we quite appreciate that very interesting response to that question. So moving on, Lagos, as we all know, is a huge populated city which houses a mixed multitude with diverse potentials, and data gathering to determine and effectively deploy resources actually requires usable, accurate and dependable data. So give us a statistical data of the skill acquisition centers established by the ministry and beneficiaries from your poverty alleviation and empowerment initiatives.
From 2019 till date, about 23,612 people have benefited from our 19 skills acquisition centers that are spread across the 5 divisions of Lagos State. And so far, we've done over 16,000 in the last 5 years, from 2019 till date, both male and female, young and old. We do not discriminate. The 19 skills acquisition centers are open to everyone in Lagos State, as long as you have your LASRA registration, and we can ascertain that you're a resident of Lagos State, and you're able to buy the form, which is just 500 naira. You're free to come in because it is tuition free.
In case you just joined us, we've been speaking with the Honorable Commissioner for Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Mrs. Cecilia Dada, giving us deep insight on significant achievements of the ministry. So, Honorable Commissioner, the business of empowerment in a cosmopolitan city with a huge population requires huge funding. So how is the ministry able to generate, finance, and execute its laudable programs, projects, and initiatives, apart from the support from the government?
It might interest you to know that we only get our funding from the government.
Have you actually approached the banks for support and you're not getting it?
We did at some point, but the response wasn't so encouraging. All thanks to the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, who has been very, very supportive. He has changed the narrative of this ministry. Programs that used to be done once a year is now done every quarter for the empowerment of women. And we have initiated several other programs that were not in place before. No wonder he became the he for she governor of Nigeria, because he's very passionate about the plight of women in Lagos State.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, for that wonderful response. Now, for a very strategic ministry like yours, what's the level and nature of synergy between your ministry and other ministries and agencies of government in order to achieve your set objectives?
We are saddled with the responsibility of standing up against all forms of gender-based violence. And when we get issues of such, and it needs litigation or mediation, we synergize with the Ministry of Justice at times like that. And also, because we try to reduce all forms of violence, we have programs for road transport workers. We collaborate with the Ministry of Transportation in that area. We also have programs for young ladies on menstrual hygiene. With that, we synergize with the Ministry of Education. We go from school to talk to them about menstrual hygiene, and we distribute sanitary towels to them. We have this program called Women Assembly, where different categories of women in the 57 local governments are invited. We go through the Minister of Local Government to reach out to such women. We don't just go to local government and start picking people. We send the letters through the Ministry of Local Government, because that program, Women Assembly, we invite different categories of women in local governments, like wives of traditional rulers, wives of religious leaders, community leaders, women leaders, representatives of disabled. We pick like 25 of such women in all the local governments, and they come together. We do that before we prepare our budget for the year. And the reason for that program is for us to interact with them, to know what they need, so that we're not just doing budgets for women in Lagos when we're not reaching the needs of such women. And at one of such programs, we realized that women in Lagos State do not take care of their health. And because of that, for every of our programs in the Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, we do free medical checks. We invite Lashma to come and speak to our women, and we give them free health insurance as well.
Honorable Commissioner, it will be quite appropriate for you to give us an update about the ministry's effort in the area of supervision of women development centers, promotion of arts and crafts produced by women entrepreneurs for the purpose of export and income generating programs for women.
Thank you very much. We have only one women development center, which we supervise, and so we treat them like one of our skills acquisition centers. So everything that we do for our skills acquisition centers, we also do for them. Now, we have a program called Creativity and Innovation Day. It's a day set aside where all the centers and all entrepreneurs and all the creative industry is always like a competition. They come up with innovations, creativity, and all of that. It's one thing for one to learn a skill. It's another thing to be creative about what you've learned. So we give them the opportunity to come up with their wares to display, and we get judges. Because they know that they will be judged, they put in extra efforts. And we also encourage them to make the product to the standard that it is exportable. So we do not just train, we teach them packaging, we teach them how to export. And I mentioned earlier on that we invite the Nigerian Export Promotion Council to come and speak to them on areas where they can export their product and the kind of products that can be exported. Just recently, we went to Shasha area to train some women in agro-allied and how they can also package their product for exports. We also do something with the LSCTF, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, where our beneficiaries can access loan for them to be able to start their businesses. So those are the things that we do for women in Lagos State.
It's quite important for a ministry like yours to collaborate with international organizations to give your activities international relevance. So how successfully has the ministry liaised with international bodies on women programs, as well as the promotion of women cooperative societies?
We've had programs with United Nations Women. For example, the 16 days of activism that is always celebrated around every year in November for 16 days, I think from the 10th to the 26th of November every year. We do that in partnership with UN Women. Also, we have a partnership, or yes, I can call it partnership, with UNFPA on domestic violence programs with our domestic violence department, where we invite different categories of people on sensitization and advocacy, where we talk to them about domestic violence. We realize that boys grow to be men, and it is what they see their fathers do that they tend to grow up to do. So we have programs for men, we have for boys, we have for parents. We also have programs for marriage registrars so that they will be able to counsel couples properly before they get married. So some of these programs we do in collaboration with UNFPA, with UN Women and USAID.
Moving ahead, now considering the Ibile configuration of Lagos, what is the level of impact of the ministry? Identifying needs, promoting economic activities of women in rural areas.
Thank you very much. For most of our programs, we do not just stay within the city. We try to identify with the women in the rural areas. For example, the Micro Enterprise Support Initiative at some point wasn't done centrally. We used to go from one rural area to the other. Areas in Ikorodu like Oshogun, Owode, Orile, Ajeromi, we've been to Gbenoje in Alimosho, we've been to Omojua community, Oriokuta, Idiorogbo. I'm sure you've not heard of most of these areas before. You know, in Apapa, we've been to an island called Nanti Village. We've been to Eredo, Agbowa, Ibejuleki. We've been to Igborosu. We try to go to the interiors. There was a time we went to a railway community in Ojo, and it was like they didn't believe that government will remember them. So those are the kind of places that we go to, places that already think that government has forgotten about them, like Mowo in Badagry, like Tokpo, also in Ekpe, in Ikosi. So we try to go to the interiors, you know, to make sure that we carry them along. And then when we celebrate the International Day for Rural Women, we do not stay in the city. We identify rural areas, we go there, we celebrate them, we go with food, with drinks, and with money, just for them to know that we've come to celebrate the rural women. So we do not just sit in the cities, we go to the interiors. And some of our schools too. We have a school in Ilashe. Ilashe is an area, is an island around Ojo local government. So our empowerment programs are not just for people in the city. We identify the fact that the government must reach out to the most vulnerable women, who are the rural women in Lagos State.
Honorable Commissioner, let's look at the area of education. What efforts have the ministry made to provide some level of required education for the skilled artisans and women to actually enable them manage and sustain their petty trades and business concerns efficiently?
for all of our schools, we have the adult literacy classes because there are some people who want to learn a skill but are illiterate. So for the first 6 months, we'll keep them in the adult literacy class where they will teach them the basic education, how to write their names, how to read and write, and then they can go to whatever vocation that they want to learn. I must also mention this, that immediately after COVID, we realized that a lot of women couldn't continue their businesses because the structure and the strategy of business changed after COVID. People began to buy things online. People began to display their wares online. But these are local women who do not even know what an Android means, what smartphones are. They didn't even know how to display their wares online. They didn't know how to advertise their products online. So we had a training for them. About 500 women were trained, and they were given Android tablets for them to be able to start their businesses. And they were onboarded, on the social media where people could see their wares, and they were happy because they could continue their businesses, especially the small and medium enterprises.
Moving on, madam, how has the ministry creatively integrated food and nutrition into your various schemes to ensure quality health status of women and their families in Lagos State?
Thank you very much. We have this program called Otedola, where we go from local governments to local governments, communities to communities, to distribute food and teach people on balanced diets. It's one thing to eat, it's another to eat proper meals. We find out that a lot of our mothers, probably because of their job and their businesses, they do not feed their children appropriately. So we decided as a ministry to go from communities to communities. We were in Gobisabe recently. We are going to Badagry to distribute balanced food items, vegetables, eggs, chicken. We give rice, we give beans, we give gari, we give milk, just to make sure that we let people feed their families appropriately. And we don't just go to distribute the food. We go with nutritionists. We go with dietitians who would let people know the proper way to feed their families. We've been to Iba, local government as well, to distribute such food items.
Honorable Commissioner, it's been a wonderful time speaking with you, but we need to quickly take this very important question, which is, we have a special group in every society. Of course, this special vulnerable group known as the widows. So what efforts have the ministry made to integrate them into the scheme of things, as well as to bring succor and secure future for widows in Lagos?
We're mindful of the fact that we have widows who need the help of government. So because of that, for every of our programs, we give slots to widows. And we have NGOs that are focused on widows. So for every program, we send them slots for their widows to come in. And so far, we have empowered over 20,000 widows in the Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation in Lagos State.
So, Honorable Commissioner, I want to thank you for joining us on the Commissioner's platform on the City of Lagos TV show. But on a final note, what's your word of encouragement and assurance to women, youth, and the vulnerable poor in Lagos State?
Lagos State has zero tolerance for lazy women. The governor is very passionate about the plights of women. There are several empowerment programs that women can tap into, not just women, even men and youths. The Ministry of Women Affairs is gracious to accept everyone that needs help. Every vulnerable person in Lagos State has the right to come into the ministry and get empowered. Don't just sit back in your homes and gossip about Madam A and Madam B. come to Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, and we will empower you.
I want to thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner for Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Mrs. Cecilia Dada, for coming on the program. We want to wish you all the best in your continuous, genuine, and proactive effort to bring about alleviating poverty among women, the family, and the youths in Lagos, most especially looking at the state of the economy right now. So wish you all the best. And that's it on the Commissioner's platform on the City of Lagos TV show on TV Nigeria. The City of Lagos TV show will continue in a moment. We'll be right back.